Red Bull has lost control of Verstappen. Mercedes offers contract. Red Bull has never been shy about backing their drivers. In fact, if there's one thing the team is known for, besides performance, it's loyalty, especially when it comes to Max Verstappen. But the 2025 Spanish Grand Prix disrupted that image. After a race-ending tangle with George Russell, Red Bull didn't just debrief Max behind closed doors. They postponed the meeting altogether. And then Helmut Marko did something he almost never does. He criticised Max, publicly, sharply. He didn't mince words. He called the move emotional, damaging, and unnecessary. From a man who's protected Verstappen through every controversy since 2016, that wasn't just a comment. It was a warning shot. This wasn't a private conversation leaked by accident. This was on the record, and that matters. Because for years, Marko has been Verstappen's shield, deflecting media pressure, defending penalties, and even clashing with regulators to keep Max untouchable. For him to speak out like this suggests a real shift inside the team. Red Bull didn't just let the media do the talking. They pulled Max from the traditional post-race debrief, citing his mental state. That's new. That's unprecedented. It felt less like protection and more like isolation. Now compare that to Mercedes. After the incident, Toto Wolff didn't explode in frustration. No fiery interviews, no calls for stewards' action. Just a smirk and a curious remark. He drove like an angry taxi driver. Was it a joke? Maybe. But more likely it was something else. A psychological move. Toto has a reputation for playing the long game, and in F1, silence is often louder than anger. So what actually happened? With just a few laps to go, Verstappen was running P5, Russell ahead in P4. Red Bull instructed Max to let Russell through.
Max, can you let Russell through, please? Let Russell through.
No, I was ahead.
My advice is to let through.
Wait, I was ahead, it just went me off the road.
But that's the rules.
Believing it was tactically sound. And initially Max complied. Telemetry shows he lifted off, briefly. But then something changed. The second Russell pulled up in the mirrors. Not Hamilton, not Norris, but Russell. Max stomped the throttle again. A split-second decision. But it ended with contact. Whether it was instinct or impulse, it cost both drivers. And for Red Bull, it cost more than just points. It cost control. This kind of flashpoint might have been easy to dismiss a year ago, but 2025 isn't 2023. The RB20 doesn't dominate the way the RB19 once did. McLaren has clawed back speed. Ferrari's upgrades are finally sticking. Even Aston Martin is sneaking into the top 6 more regularly. Red Bull still leads, but the margin is thinner. Mistakes matter more. And emotions, they show. Verstappen, used to racing out front, now finds himself in battles. And in battle, control is everything. Internally, Red Bull is watching this trend with increasing concern. Team insiders suggest this isn't the first moment of frustration from Max this season. His radio messages have grown sharper, his reactions more volatile. In Bahrain, he lashed out at strategy. In Imola, he clashed with race engineers over tyre choices. And now in Spain, the fuse finally blew. And what did Red Bull do? They backed away. Not with a statement of unity, but with a deafening silence. Then there's Jos Verstappen, Max's father. He's never been one to sugarcoat his opinions. And this year, he's been vocal behind the scenes. He's questioned the team's decision-making, their focus, even hinted at favouritism within the garage. When the Verstappens start pushing back, it's rarely casual. It usually signals something deeper, fractures, frustration, or a readiness to walk. So where does that leave Mercedes? They have one seat locked in, George Russell. But with Hamilton now at Ferrari, the team needs a second flagship name for the new regulations era in 2026. They've got rising talent in Kimi Antonelli. Promising? Absolutely. Ready to lead a top team? Not yet, which means Toto Wolff has a puzzle to solve, and Verstappen might be the wildcard piece that fits perfectly. Yes, Max has a contract until 2028, but this is F1. Contracts come with escape hatches, performance clauses, mental health considerations. Loyalty in this sport is always conditional. And if Max feels betrayed by Red Bull, especially after years of loyalty, those conditions might be met sooner than expected. Let's not ignore the optics. In F1, your driver is your brand, And while Max has always been fiery, the last few weeks have ignited a PR headache. Sponsors notice when tempers flare. So do young engineers looking for calm environments to grow in. If Red Bull starts being seen as a place of chaos rather than creativity, the talent drain could begin. In fact, rumours are already circling the paddock. Staff leaving Milton Keynes, resumes landing on desks at Woking and Brackley. And this is where Toto's genius shines. He doesn't need to criticise Max, he doesn't need to court him publicly. He just needs to look like the stable option. Every Verstappen outburst, every pit wall argument, every blunt quote from Marko makes Mercedes look more inviting. And when the 2026 reset hits, with new engine regs, new aero guidelines and a clean slate, Mercedes could be perfectly positioned to pounce. Red Bull, once a fortress of control, is beginning to leak. The cracks are public, the hierarchy is shaking, and Max, their anchor, is drifting toward the edge. Meanwhile, Mercedes is cultivating the opposite image. Structured, calm, strategic, and most importantly, patient. It's subtle, it's slow, but it's real. Red Bull has a tough call to make. Do they double down on Max, risking more moments of volatility? Or do they begin to reel him in, knowing full well that trying to control Max Verstappen could push him away entirely? There's no easy answer. But the longer the friction lingers, the more vulnerable Red Bull becomes. Not just to performance loss, but to perception loss. Because once your team becomes synonymous with drama, it's hard to rebuild that reputation. And here's the kicker. Verstappen might be considering something he's never truly needed. A fresh start. At Mercedes, he'd walk into a team that builds legends. He'd race next to George Russell. Talented but not overpowering. He'd be the lead figure with a clean image reboot and the marketing backing of a global powerhouse. And with Wolff's experience handling egos, media, and rivalries, he might get something he hasn't had in years: peace of mind. So now the spotlight shifts. Is Red Bull unravelling at the seams? Or is Mercedes slowly playing the longest, smartest game in Formula One? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, hit like, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell for more insane videos from the F1 Racing Newsroom.